Our Love, Diary of a Prince, written by Cameron Holder, Chapter 2, June 5th, 1750. Good evening, my darling. I hope you are excited to hear from me again. I know that you were wondering why I made such a dramatic pause in my last entry. Well, as you know, I do get lonely emotionally and mentally because there is absolutely no one quite like me, and it can make me feel a tiny bit deranged. I have good friends, don't get disordered about that. It is just that I don't have any friends that are the same as me. Every night I ask God why he had to elect me to be the unusual one, and why did he fashion me to have a predestined sin? Did he make me to throw me into the lake of fire? Listen to me. I sound like a madman, so let me move on to more light conversation. I must go get my costume on Friday for the ball Saturday, and today I made my very own custom-made mask with pearls. Not real pearls, of course. I wish I were that wealthy. I painted my white mask with blue features, and in my opinion it looks stupendous. I saw Priscilla's dress for the ball, and it is a beautiful pink gown with embroidered flowers on it, and her mask is a matching pink with feathers and a real pearl necklace that her mom bought from England. I wish I lived her life with her gorgeous mansion, wealthy father, maids that serve her every command, and her beautiful bedroom with a chandelier imported from Paris, or a painting I saw hung on by her balcony that was painted by Richard Wilson, and she told me that she thinks it is repulsive. I almost became a lunatic and wanted to shake her to her senses. I know her father spent almost 1.7 million liras just for one painting depicting nature. I would cry for joy for such an expensive gift. But I do not live with her, so I cannot tell her how to behave. Moving along back to the ball, my parents have not seen my costume yet. However, they think my mask should be plain and not have pearls or any color. They say it looks too womanish, but I do not care about what looks masculine or feminine. I will wear it how I want to, and no one can stop me. I cannot wait till Saturday so I can have a convivial time at the ball with my colleagues. I should go to bed and get my beauty rest. So adieu for now, diary. Stephen. June 10th, 1750. Hello, my beauteous diary. I have some alerting news to tell you about last night. I promise you that it is not bad nor horrific news, but rather unexpected with a dazzling twist in the end. My family and I went to the summer ball to celebrate Priscilla being the only girl to be accepted at Accademia de Belle Arti di Roma for ballet performance. I was also accepted into the School for Art. However, my parents could not afford the lavishness of a party like the one we went to last night. Before I could leave the house, my mother and father told me that they did not approve of my outfit because it looked like I was trying to emasculate myself on purpose. I ignored and walked to the nearest gondola. I sat in the front while my parents and older brother sat in the back. I won't say his name, for I want to protect his identity if someone finds this diary later in my life. I looked up at the stars and imagined I was flying through the galaxies, exploring the endless and breathtaking universe. I closed my eyes and envisioned myself discovering great new worlds full of kind-hearted people who don't discriminate against my love for other persons of my extravagance. It was a peaceful 20 minutes to be myself, but it was shortly lived once we arrived at Priscilla's mansion of a home. Her maids dressed in white and lavender. They opened the double French doors for us. It almost seemed like they automatically knew who when people were at the door. The room seemed to be filled with the entire city of Venice, or maybe my imagination has been playing fairy games with me. Ornate gowns, mystical masks, and the decor was to die for. Perfectly marvelous in my book. For most of the ball I talked with some close colleagues about where I was attending and what I expect in the future. Long-term goals, politics, rumors of others' romance or devastation and such. You would assume such a conversation from a group of well-to-do youth whose parents have money to throw in the Grand Canal. and it felt like time was immobilized for eternity. I saw Priscilla walking down the staircase, and she looked vibrant and unblemished as always. But it was not her I was focused on. A boy was walking down with her, laughing and toying around with her. He looked exceptional, truly appealing to the eyes of the admirer. He was tall, light brown hair, green eyes, nice physique, and the most heavenly smile that has surfaced on this earth. I had to talk to him, but I was scared to my grave and started to sweat. Priscilla walked towards me in the group. I noticed they all rolled their eyes and sighed, which was peculiar. Priscilla introduced this heavenly man as her brother. His name was Augustus. Oh my, what a lovely name. Priscilla finally caught my attention after a few seconds, and I was revived to my normal self. Augustus put his hand out, and we shook hands. His hands were rough but sensitive to the touch. He smiled, and I did the same. He wore a white Shakespearean shirt with his chiseled chest bulging out, and he wore black trousers. His mask was shiny with black and gold painted designs. I believe he kept staring at me as well till Priscilla broke the tension and spoke to other guests. She took my hand, and I followed her while Augustus stayed with a group of those arrogant rich children. But before my vision was lost in the crowd of guests, he looked directly at me and smiled again. On the outside, I was as cool as a winter night in Berlin, but on the inside, my heart was on fire like the Sahara Desert. I was still sweating, and my heart was beating at an abnormally fast pace. When I was done talking with other guests, I walked to where he was standing. He whispered if I wanted to go someplace exclusive outside, and of course I agreed with him. We walked outside at the back of the mansion to an enormous garden with every flower you can think of. I was speechless. What was happening to me? Priscilla was right about me being another Giulietta. Now I think I found my Romeo. Though I still had to keep my composure, I still did not know if he was like me. We talked endlessly to each other. He had no idea I was friends with his sister, and I had no idea Priscilla had a brother like him. I found out so many things about Priscilla I never imagined. However, I would not specifically say anything, for if ever she looks in my diary, then I am already a dead man. He is 19. He graduated from university with a degree in astronomy and space education. I was always interested in the stars and outer space if I do not become successful as a painter. We talked about our likes and dislikes, what we hope to become in the future, traveling to explore other cities and countries, politics, food, the ball. We talked about everything last night. Priscilla came outside and influenced us to come back to the party, but before we walked in, I took a chance at fate. I whispered to him if he was distinct. My heart was throbbing, and my mind was asking me why I had asked him in the first place. He smiled. Yes, and I pray to Iris you are too. I smiled and nodded my head. I saw him holding his head up high and making his chest more exposed to show a sort of pride. I was impressed by this mister. Unfortunately, my parents took me to the center of the dance hall so I could dance with these strange women I never met before. They told me her name was Lydia and she was interested in talking to me. I tried to reject her, but my parents would not take no for an answer, and they pushed me in her direction. The orchestra played as everyone danced. Me and Lydia had an awkward exchange of words. She was talking non-stop about her farm back in Bassano di Grappa, and how she came to Priscilla's ball to find a husband to help her take care of the farm. I immediately walked away while the orchestra was still playing, and my parents were furious at me. My father asked why I would disrespect a woman of her value. I said that I am too young to find stable love. There must be better offerings in Rome. He smiled and patted my back. I would say anything to cover myself. They told me and my brother that it was time to go back home. My brother met a girl around his age with blonde hair and blue eyes, As they were making the obvious young love faces consisting of blushed cheeks, big eyes, and a river of sweat, at least for my brother. I walked up to Augustus while my parents were saying their goodbyes to Priscilla's parents. I told him to meet me at the Parco del Remembrance at 9 o'clock in the evening tomorrow, so no one will suspect us of anything sinful. He said he wouldn't miss meeting me for all the gold in the world. We said our last goodbyes for the night, and I went back home. Just a few more hours till I can see him. So I will go for now, and I will return with good news, I hope. Stefan. June 12th, 1750. Diary, I do not want to sound as if I am rushing. However, I think that I am in love. Not the form of love you find in poetry or plays, but real, genuine love that sticks to you like flies on honey. My heart is soaring through this ever-expanding universe with enough fuel to survive for light years. My head is filled with nothing but the images of him. From the moment I woke up this morning till now, all my mind could focus on was him. I can still feel the strong embrace of his muscular arms, the gentle kisses that floated on my cheeks and lips, our bodies wrapped around each other under the moonlight. It was truly a magical experience for both of us. We drank wine and laughed and talked all night about one another. I found out that he and his mother do not get along too well because Augustus is a scientist that believes in cold, hard evidence like the evolution of life and the creation of the universe being made by different atomic components, thus making life itself within millions and billions of years. His mother thinks God is the only one who has the power to create and destroy life whenever he chooses. I can very much associate with his style of living to the relationship between my parents and me. I do not believe in a higher power called God, while my parents are complete believers in God, and they fear him to the point of no return. Augustus's mother also pesters him about marriage. When will he settle down with a good Catholic woman and start a family? She wants at least 7 grandchildren in order for her to have assurance that the bloodline will be stable and the dynasty can survive another decade. She is afraid that he will never find love in his peak season. He is 19, but she should not be so worried about him finding a wife. He only blames the constant schedule of his studies that prevents him from courting a woman. He tells her that he will promise her a wife and their heir before the age of 25. But for now, the galaxy is his bride. We also talked about our favorite books and authors, which is surprising to me because almost all the other boys at the school did not want to read a page of anything. All they wanted to do was play games, learn how to fight, and try to summon the girls to do as they say. He made me hit him when he told me his favorite read in these times are Memoirs of a Woman of Pleasure. I gasped and almost yelled at him for such an answer. I asked why he read such a book, for it is forbidden from all parts of Europe. In return, he said that it made his extremities warm and tingled. I told him my favorite reading in my pastime is Romeo and Julieta. He laughed and told me how idiotic the two lovers are. He thinks they should have taken the time to figure out if their love was sincere or purely physical. They could have run away together instead of dying for love, which he said in an overly dramatic tone. I obviously moved on to another subject of conversation. Suddenly, he asked me a question I never thought would be asked to such a simple-minded boy like me. He asked me if I believed in true love. This was happening, and I was not ready for such a direct question, especially on our second encounter. But he was anxiously waiting for my response. Then he held my hand, and I looked at him. I told him yes, and he told me that he could be experiencing real love for the first time in his young life. This gorgeous god of a man is falling in love with me, and I cannot stop him. I don't want to stop this collaborative paradise of love. He leaned in for a kiss, and I can truly say that that was the utmost astonishing kiss I have ever received, and it was my very first. For the rest of the night we watched the gondolas and boats sail through the channels as we were both processing what had just happened. He wrapped his sweet, safe arms around me while we looked up at the stars in amazement of how the universe let us have the chance of having a significant person beside you. I think Augustus and I are going to set the city on fire with our burning love, but again I sounded like I am rushing into the future. Who knows? Goodbye, my trusted friend. See you soon. Stefan.